Ho mitaku yapi, chante washte anape chiusa below. Blaze Starkey amachi yapi, wakpa washte hemata han kash, iamos lahan elwati. Iama kagapi wakpa oti elwati. Hello, my friends. Hello, my relatives. My name is Blaze Starkey. I'm Lakota. I live on Standing Rock, even though my family is originally from Cheyenne River, which is also part of the Lakota Nation and just next to Standing Rock. I'd like to start by acknowledging the relatives and ancestors whose land I stand upon here, and hope that they also, that my words honor them and support them, and for them I stand here as well. So it's pretty weird actually for me to be here, honestly. Last year at this time, I was in the camp that we had set up at Standing Rock. That was a traditional camp, a traditional Lakota camp for us. And most people know that camp as protesting a pipeline. And when I come out here, everybody's all talking about pipelines to this, pipelines to that, getting more people in the pipeline. I mean, man, I don't know if you all seen what these pipelines are like, but they're bad, man. I mean, you want to be inside of one of those things, all of a sudden it's all dark in there, they're sending you somewhere, they're not sending you where you want to go, they're sending you where they want to take you, you know what I mean? I mean, I'd rather be on a path, with some birds, some trees, something like that. I don't know about pipeline. So we got a little difference in lingo, for one thing. But the other thing is, I was talking to one of my friends who lives here the other day, and she was saying that on her block, somebody made a cash offer of $6 million for one house, and then that house ended up going for $9 million. Where I come from, we're in the 20 poorest counties in the United States, and right now we're looking for $4 million to continue a school that we started in camp that's in our language, in our Lakota language, and in our Lakota culture, and to endow that school for the next 7 generations, the next 7 generations of that sort of style education would be $4 million. So it just makes me wonder, at what point is our language or our children and our culture going to be more important than, one person's house? I mean, it's just a question that I end up having. But I guess I'm glad to be here still with everybody. I don't know if there's any Lakota relatives that are out there or any other indigenous brothers and sisters. It'd be great to meet up with you all and talk as well, or just anybody, because really a lot of people see what Standing Rock was about as being just about stopping a pipeline and part of a pipeline. But really, in a way, that's almost been a co-option of what actually that was about, because at least for me and for us, it's about a movement that is for us as indigenous people to rise up in our own continent and fulfill the sacred responsibilities that we have been given by our ancestors to do these things. It's also for us to stand up for treaty rights. That pipeline is going across land that we have never, ever formally given up to the United States. Out here in San Francisco, bet some of the money that even began some companies that people work for is probably related to some of the money that was taken from the Black Hills. William Randolph Hearst and all those people were some of the main people who took land from that area, which is one of our sacred spaces that we're still fighting for. So I don't know. I guess it's just a lot for me to think about being out here. But I wanted to talk a little bit, just to start out, about settler colonialism and what that is and what that looks like in the tech sector, and just go to some real specific examples. And also I'd like to suggest some real significant or just easy changes, and hope that coming out here could make it so some of that could get done. So settler colonialism, really simply defined, is an ongoing process. It's not just an event that happens sometime in your great-grandpa's time or something like that. It's an event that's ongoing, that's happening right now. That's one thing to stress. But specifically, it's a process that seeks to destroy, dispossess, and replace indigenous people on their own lands. And it's the same process that also sought to bring Black and African American people here as slaves. So I think that it's really interesting that same process has also sort of sought to divide us, because it's affected us in sometimes even oppositional ways. So one example of that is in terms of like native heritage, the government or the people, who sort of were seeking to destroy us set up a system, the system of blood quantum that we still have today. And in their thinking, the way it worked was that as soon as an indigenous person marries a non-indigenous person, they're already a mixed blood or a half-blood. So they're already somehow like less indigenous, They're already somehow like less and less. And now, in many tribes, we still have this system where if you get down to a certain like percentage of blood with like, I don't know, whatever you look at, like chop off that arm or something like that, then you're no longer indigenous, which is like directly oppositional to the goal of having like more slaves or whatever. And there you have like the one drop rule where, if you have like a black parent and a white parent, then you could still be enslaved. So I think that those legacies, like it's an ongoing process, but sometimes those legacies also serve to like create sort of misunderstandings or like different understandings of what race and racism even is throughout our different communities. So transitioning from like settler colonialism being a system which seeks to like replace, destroy, and sort of like make indigenous people disappear, thinking about that in the tech world, there's some like kind of crazy and scary examples for me, and also sort of like what indigenous racism or what digital racism looks like towards indigenous people. So some concrete examples right now are, I would challenge all of you, if you can, to pull out your phone and see if you can find a reservation on Google Maps in California. You don't have to do it now, but just try it someday. See if you can find a reservation in California. There's over 100 recognized reservations in California, and if you pull out this and you look, you'll see like maybe some like really kind of sort of gray areas, and you can zoom in, you can zoom out. Maybe if you hit it just right, you can see a name for that, but a lot of those areas are native communities. My language that I speak is Lakota. On my phone right now, if I want to type something that looks even sort of like Lakota, and I go to just like Gboard or whatever, I have to switch to Esperanto, which, like whatever, it's like a language that linguists made up. And then if I long press keys in Esperanto, I can type in something that sort of looks like Lakota. So for us, that just transitions into like a whole history where our languages, people were punished, people were killed, people were beaten for speaking our languages. And now we're at a point right now where there's about 200 speakers on Standing Rock of Lakota who are fluent speakers. And I mean, do you all think that like it helps us speak our language by not being able to type it, by not being able to do anything in it? Like if I'm trying to even compose something in my language on my computer, I can't even do it. There's not even a keyboard because I just have a Chromebook or whatever. So just thinking about like these are real practical things. The other thing that happens is we have names like Chase's Hawk or things like that on Facebook will tell people that those are not real names. Like if you enter that name, Facebook will be like, oh, that's not a real name. People have to like make up a fake name for themselves on Facebook because Facebook won't let them use their real names. So like these are all like just easy, real, low-hanging fruit sort of things that are ways in which the tech world right now is creating a structure that is a structure of like settler colonialism, that is a structure of racism, and that's on one end. There's so many deeper levels of that we could go into, but I only got 10 minutes, so just wanted to focus on some easy examples. And thinking about going forward, there's also ways that tech companies could really, really be disruptive to the system of settler colonialism and to these systems of oppression. For me, I'd like to imagine like, a Google Maps where indigenous land that's currently recognized as, like the color of my shoes on the map so that everybody can see it, so that everybody understands that those are lands that have their own laws, their own languages, their own culture, that when you go into that land, you're actually going into somebody else's sovereign territory, somebody else's country. I'd like to see another layer that shows where disputed land is, not land that's not, under dispute between a tribe and the United States. Right here, right now, I feel like it can't be that hard. I feel like it doesn't take a million, extremely intelligent people to create a keyboard that's in Lakota, in my own language, and to facilitate, that learning. And I feel like it wouldn't even take that much to have a task force where there was languages all over the country. So really, I guess I'm pretty much done. I'd love to talk to anybody who wants to talk more about this stuff, and if anybody knows the people to make any of this happen, that'd be great. Thank you all for listening, and with all my